So this is our first question, and you would be given the following formula. And they would explain that P is the principal. So when you see a principal of $1,500 is invested at 4%, you would know that you could put $1,500 in for P. The R is the rate, so 4%, and the rate is always a decimal. And they'll say that in the question, that R is the interest rate as a decimal. So we're getting 4% interest rate, compounded quarterly. The N is how many compound periods you have per year. If it's compounded quarterly, how many times does that happen in a year? Quarterly would be four times. Okay, so there's monthly, 12 times, quarterly, semi-annually, twice, annually would be once, bi-weekly is every 2 weeks, which would be how many times a year? Sometimes you get a job where you get paid bi-weekly. Some jobs pay twice a month, some jobs pay every 2 weeks. How many would that be? How many weeks are in a year? 52. So bi-weekly would be 26. So that doesn't come in the formula. If they say semi-annually, you need to know that that's 2. If it says monthly, you need to know that's 12. Quarterly is 4 times a year. So then we would put 4 in for both of the ends. A is the amount. So we want this to go up to 25 years, $2,500, sorry. We're like, how long is that going to take? At $1,500, you want to save up to $2,500, and you see that you can put it into account paying 4% interest. How long will that take? At this point, when we're solving for an exponent, the only thing we have been able to do is use our powers chart. Okay? Now, if I look at this, I could divide both sides by the 1,500. So I'm going to just do some mental math here. Well, not mental math. I'm going to use my calculator. If I divide both sides by 1,500, this side will be 5 over 3. If I simplify this, I get 1.01 to the 4t. Question. Is 1.01 on the powers chart for mental math that we did? Absolutely not. So at this point, we do not have the skills to solve this. Other than the fact that we could guess, right? I could take out my calculator. I could check. Right, on my calculator, 5 divided by 3 is 1.0, and then I could do 1.01 to the exponent of 4 times. How many years do you think it's going to take? Take a guess. 12 years. We're close. You got 1.61. So now I'm going to check 14 years. Too big. So we could 12 and a half years? Ooh, even closer. So we could guess, because that right now is the only mathematics we have, because you haven't learned logarithms yet. It's coming. There's a way that we can use these 2 buttons on our calculator, log or the natural log button, to solve this, but we don't have that yet. So all we can do right now is use technology. And for technology, what we're going to do is we're going to take our equation. We're going to take one side and put it into y1, and the other side and put it into y2. And we're going to see where these two graphs intersect. Our guessing and checking says it's pretty close to 13, 12 or 13. So, what does that look like? I take out my graphing calculator, or Desmos. So for those of you that don't have a graphing calculator, you can use the Desmos program. I type in 2500 into 1, and I type in 1500 bracket 1 plus 0.04 over 4 to an exponent of 4, and there's no t, so we use x. Now when I graph this on a graphing calculator, you do have to know a little bit about the graphs. Y equals 2500 is a straight line at 2500. So when I go to my window here, I need to see 2500. So you might put in a max of 3000 just to make sure you see 2500. We did some guessing and checking already. We know that the answer is going to be around 13. So I'm going to go, I could go up to maybe 15 and see what that looks like. And I don't need to see a bunch of negative numbers, so maybe I'll just start at -1. Now when I hit graph, do those two graphs intersect on my graph? Yes. So sometimes you're going to hit graph and you're going to see the lines and you don't see them intersect. That will mean you need to change your window. On Desmos, you can just grab your screen and drag it till you see what you want. Really handy that way. And on Desmos, you just have to click on the button that shows where they intersect and it will tell you the answer. On the graphing calculator, we're going to calculate number 5 where they intersect. Push enter on curve 1, enter on curve 2, enter when it says guess. And it was 12.834 to 3 decimal places. So always answer 834, is that what I said? Always answer to 3 decimal places and then read the question. And here, afterwards I read it, it says to the nearest quarter of a year, $12.75 years, it won't be quite enough, right? Because it's a little bit less. 13 years, it would be a little bit more. So you'd have to wait 12 years to get that $1,000, right? Which seems like that's like a long time to wait. However, how old are you now? Right? You guys are like 16, 17? If someone did this when you were 4 years old, 12 years ago, would you be happy to get an extra $1,000 for doing nothing right now? Probably. I don't think there'd be a no. I'll pass. I don't want any extra money. The nice thing about interest rates is it's everybody's favorite way to make money. Why is it the favorite way to make money? Because you make money by doing. That's everybody's dream job. The dream job is to make money by doing nothing. It doesn't usually work out that well for people. Because the only way you can make money by doing nothing is if you have a lot of money to begin with. And that's not usually the case for lots of us. But if you can work hard early, get some money, then you can get that money to make you money by doing nothing, which is a good thing. So investments can be very, very good. But right now, we can't solve for an exponent without a calculator if it's not on our powers chart. And these ones we can't solve unless we have a graphing calculator, which we were not allowed on our exam. So we're going to need to develop techniques to solve for questions like these. But right now, we're just looking at a graphing calculator solution. So we can circle questions 12 and 13.